as I started to learn more about how payments work in the world, it just became really clear to me that there needed to be this universal payment network, right? There needed to be essentially a way that no matter what financial institution you use, whether you're at a bank or like some mobile money thing or like Venmo or whatever, or you're using one currency and someone else is using another, all of these things should be interoperable, right? It should work like the internet does. So the analogy we always use is basically the SMTP is the underlying protocol for email, right? And it basically means where you don't have to care if somebody's at a university or a company or whatever, as long as they're running a mail server, you can send a message to them, right? And the same should be true of payments, I think. And so that's what Stellar is designed to be, is this universal payment network, essentially. So we started 3 years ago, and basically for the first 2.5 years, we were building out the technology, and now it's kind of solid and robust, and we're getting people on board the network right now.
Hello, everyone. When it comes to these digital assets, how many times have we heard the topic of a flip of the switch? Well, how about this? A retail flip of the switch. Is Stellar XLM truly going to become the next era of Venmo or Cash App moving forward? Well, for me, the answer is yes. Recent developments in regards to Stellar XLM. Smash it like if you haven't done so already. Let's just jump right into the material. This, in my opinion, pounds home so many things that people aren't really aware of or are basically covering. Let's go ahead and full screen this. And if anything, what is this guy really talking about? Well, I'm going to go ahead and slow down the part where he plays it in like 4x speed. But listen to this, because, it's been a while since we talked about Sorbonne. And like he says, you have heard of smart contracts, but do you know why Stellar does it better? This is JDev28. He's basically Julian Martinez. Cooks on straight facts with Stellar. A lot of you guys state that you just want the facts. Let's get into some of those facts. Here we go.
There's one tweet that I simply must fade. This is straight facts with Stellar. Donnell said this.
Jed said it best. Smart contracts on Stellar interfaces with the rest of the Stellar network, which actually has real money coming on and off. This is something only available on Stellar. We built it better so you can build better.
Bobby 3 Lines said this. Something only available on Stellar. Can you elaborate? Smart contracts aren't exactly a novel idea, so not sure what you mean by that statement. Solana, Ethereum, Algorand, Cardano, all have smart contracts, all have casinos, all have this, all have that. You can't get the coins off the network. That's it. What are you going to do with the MetaMask balance? Look at it? Where's the accessibility? Only with Stellar. In this industry, we've seen countless upgrades. We've seen back-end upgrades, front-end improvements, speed, efficiency, but only with Stellar have we broken through with the accessibility upgrade. So where can you send money to a wallet and withdraw cash? Local currency, well, maybe at over 100,000 Moneygram locations available in 180 countries worldwide. Let me ask you, how decentralized are we really as an industry if every on and off ramp requires a centralized exchange and a bank account? Not very. All I'm saying is if you really want to use blockchain for what it's meant for and actually control your money, not use a bank account just to participate in DeFi, then no one does it better than Stellar. This is the novel idea.
Okay, on that part that you heard where it sounded a little bit garbled is because he had it in like 4x speed, and I was trying to slow it down for you guys because, that was a complaint I used to get on the live show when we used to do that. Nonetheless, let's jump into this next part. And if anything, put some of that focus back on what he was stating in regards to on and off ramps and especially cash. Check this out. Here is a report from businessofapps.com. A comparison, if you will. In this compare and contrast, all this is worth pointing out. Number one, if you go to businessofapps.com, what is the gross payment volume on Cash App Business? Well, basically speaking, it goes on to mention that Cash App had a gross payment volume of $18 billion through its business accounts in 2023. We're not all the way through 2024. This is where we're doing this particular report. So Yeah, 18 billion. If you get to the next part, well, what about Venmo? Well, Venmo payment volume in, for example, 2023 was 276 billion. That was the total payment volume. That's pretty crazy, right? And as we know, Venmo was acquired by, of course, PayPal. Well, what about comparing it all to, for example, Stellar? Well, great question. I'm ahead of you on that. So, from Stellar on this 2023 deck report, well, what about the whole thing of, total payments? Like it says, the number of total payments decreased by 62.59% year on year, with 56.9 million payments made in quarter one 2023 compared to 152 million in quarter one 2022. But however, despite the number of payments decreasing, the on network transaction volume on relevant assets grew by 10.5% year on year, as seen on some of these slides. Now, keep in mind on some of these reports, the reason why it was a lot more in quarter one 2022, you're still going from the height of the bull run of last bull market to the beginning, technically speaking, of a bear market, crypto winter, and so on. So that is definitely a factor. Now you may be wondering, why don't you just list the whole amount? Fortunately, Stellar, and this is a frustration I have, it's not FUD, but it's just being real. They break it up in quarters. They don't really give you like the full yearly report. I wish they would do that, but it is what it is. But nonetheless, I've taken the liberty of adding all this up for you. So on this quarter, you see 56,859,923. And of course, second quarter, 71,832,173. And of course, third quarter, 76,721,886. Again, third quarter 2023. And of course, the next part that you're about to see right here mentions fourth quarter, 92,874,690. And then when we add all those up, because I use this one on mathisfun.com, you see it all added up. And it comes to a total of 297,788,672. Now, why is that important? Well, basically speaking, is to give you an idea of, again, what to expect in the future. Sometimes some of you guys just want to see some real numbers instead of a lot of speculation. And as you see here from subzin.com, well, this is basically Cash App. And it states with Cash App that their estimated net worth is 80 billion back in 2023. Okay. And their estimated now is 85 billion in 2024, adjusted, of course, for inflation, primary sources of wealth, peer-to-peer transactions, banking services, Bitcoin trading, stock investments. Don't forget about that part. Okay. As we get further into it, I want to take you over to priordata.com. This particular data in regards to Venmo statistics, Venmo net worth, revenue, valuation, stats 2024. And why is this important? Well, if you jump down to this report from January of this year, it goes on to mention that, for example, Venmo was valued at 38 billion in 2020, and more importantly, is understanding the growth where it's at basically now, because you see some particular things posted here, their revenue, so on and so forth. But nonetheless, interesting to see all that data. Now, as we get to the next part about this, let's take you over to Pew Research, and I'll cite this more than a couple times. It says here, payment apps like Venmo and Cash App bring convenience and security concerns to some users. Okay, is that doom and gloom? No, not really, but worth pointing out, because when you get to this next part, it says pretty much that the reason why Americans do or don't use these payment sites or apps, well, there's numerous reasons, but when asked what motivates people to use these sites or apps, I'm talking about Venmo and Cash App, users most frequently point to ease. Roughly 6 in 10 Americans who have ever used PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, or Cash App, 61% say a major reason for doing so is because it makes paying for things easier. Yeah, no kidding. And more importantly, what's also worth pointing out is, basically speaking, like, how long did it take Cash App, for example, to go mainstream? Well, keep in mind, everybody, that with Cash App in itself, their rise to mainstream popularity, basically speaking, was, let's face it, was relatively rapid. And, some people, of course, want to see that happen with, of course, Stellar. Keep in mind the difference is getting to that part of regulatory clarity. We're all hoping and wishing for that, especially in 2025. But to be fair, Cash App was launched in 2013. It wasn't until a few years later, around 2017, 2018 ish, that it gained significant traction and became a widely recognized and used, of course, mobile app. There's several contributing factors in regards to its rapid growth. For one, ease of use. Cash App, as we know, is a simple interface and user friendly for the most part, in which it has features which makes it widely accessible and a wide range of people, of course, use it. Heck, I even use it, right? A lot of you guys do as well. I use both Venmo and Cash App because, let's face it, still have quite a few people that don't even know what crypto really is, and they're not going to bother with it. But I have it available. But there's social features. For example, connect with friends and family, drive adoption, and if anything, Bitcoin integration. That was a big monumental step forward for Cash App moving forward because Cash App's early adoption of Bitcoin as a payment option attracted users interested, of course, in crypto. But they also had viral marketing campaigns, and let's face it, the rest is history. The next part I want to get into is understanding the decade, the market that transformed from all this. And what do I have in regards to reference? Well, I'm going to pull this up for you. This is from a particular PDF called Zabo, FinTech Adoption of Crypto, July 2020. Now, if you're familiar with Zabo, you know about Jack Dorsey. A lot of you guys aren't a fan. I get it. But nonetheless, let's not get into the politics of this. Let's just cite the sources for a moment. As you see in the middle of that PDF, Cash App offered Bitcoin on roughly November 2017. At the same time, Binance launched itself November 2017. And then, of course, there's other big players like Revolut, Robinhood the following years. But what's really interesting when we get more into some of the key data here is understanding some of these key things. And that is, of course, these full launches. The user base at the time of 24 million of MAUs, all of Cash App. Well, you got to keep in mind the supported markets. The United States, think about where we're at with crypto. Do you really have a fully supported market here in the United States when it comes to crypto? Not really, because we don't have that clarity. More importantly, understanding the early adoption of Bitcoin and how it paid off in a huge way for Square/Cash App. As cited here, Bitcoin sales grew from 34 million in the first quarter of 2018 to 306 million in the first quarter of 2020. That allowed an increase, a whopping increase of 798%. So, again, the acceleration of Bitcoin and, of course, interest. Jack Dorsey, cited here from a while back, says, so this is part of the reason why we think the ecosystem strategy is so strong. We're not just a peer-to-peer app. We're not just a stock purchasing app. We are not just a Bitcoin app. We have everything in one. Think about some of these statements, of course, moving forward. Next part I want to show some emphasis is that Bitcoin has unquestionably become an important part of Square and Cash App's product strategy. Now, as we also know, when it comes to peer-to-peer payments, well, if everybody got on board on or this time around, well, keep in mind, what about the next era? And what about having a better solution? Something else I want to point out to you guys is, when did Venmo become widely used? There was initially little fanfare, like it mentions, around Venmo until an aggressive marketing push in 2015, when basically PayPal announced the slogan "Pay with Venmo" and instructed customers to use the app at retailers instead of cash or credit cards. Just because you don't see these things happen necessarily yet with Stellar, well, this is why so many people are betting on Stellar. so many people are betting on Stellar, for example, to have somebody like Elon Musk go on to mention maybe on X, hey, we're going to use Stellar for payments. And if anything, that would be huge. But it's not just about one particular person. It's more or less some of these big mainstream apps that everybody already uses. Again, when we talk about on and off ramps, some of the mainstream on ramps is where it's basically at. Moving forward into this, I'm going to get into some of the nitty gritty of why I'm presenting this to you. Because when we see some other key things here, I think it's all worthwhile, all worth pointing out. This is from Medium. I'll pull this up on your screen as well. It's a strategy, and it's called Unlocking Venmo's Growth Strategy, how the app reached $935 million in revenue. Back in 2015, as we know, PayPal announced that it acquired Venmo for $800 million, and it retained ownership of the app, of course, to this day. But by 2022, Venmo proved its financial prowess with a staggering $244 billion in total payments, an estimated earnings of $935 million with over 78 million users. Now, when we get further into this, you will see how this simply makes all sense moving forward, that Stellar would be the next era. But I want to cite some more things to help you with your understanding of why this is a big deal. Moneygram, as we know, has, of course, a huge connection to Stellar. But Moneygram has served more than 150 million people in the last 5 years, while Cash App has 57 million monthly users, and Venmo has nearly 90 million accounts in the United States alone. As we know, in the comparison, MoneyGram is a global brand that allows users to send money online through their mobile app at over 430,000 locations. And by the way, that outranks Bitcoin ATMs as far as more locations. Cash App, as we know, they do more than just investing and the whole thing of peer-to-peer, but they have investing, they have personal loans, they have tax filing, and then even Venmo, well, they pretty much do a lot of things, especially with the connection with PayPal. So take it to this next part. I want you to understand this. How many MoneyGram app users are there basically out there? Well, on a simple Google search, you could find out that MoneyGram is trusted by 150 plus million consumers who can choose how they send money online. And of course, they even have a mobile app. But last reported, 430,000 plus locations. And this is what brings me to this next part, because there's a lot of focus in this video I bring into you today in regards to cash. There's some people that you might not even have ever heard of. If you're an OG of Stellar, you already know who this lady is Joyce Kim. Back in 2015, you may not like me representing or bringing to you the past, but it all pounds home. And if anything, you will see some key players that are attached to her podium, like Google and BlackRock. Listen to this. Come right back.
Hello everyone, I'm Joyce Kim from Stellar.org, and we're building a financial system for the world's poor. So this here is my grandmother. She's cute, right? So on this day, I actually remember traveling hours to the temple where she lived with $500 cash for her in my pocket, like I always did. Why cash? Because anything else was just too expensive. So working families spend $44 billion a year on Western Union and similar fees. That is a huge number. For people that live on less than $2 a day, they can spend up to 15% of their daily income on a single transaction fee, just one. The simple truth is, it's expensive to be poor. And the solution to this problem starts with a technical back-end question. What do all of these services have in common? They're enabled by global protocols, these systems that allow computers to talk to computers so that you and I can send emails and photos globally, instantly, and for free. These systems enable millions upon millions of products, and it does not exist for money, which leads to a lack of financial services for the poor. So we decided to change that with Stellar, an open source financial network. So businesses and developers can build free or low-cost financial services on top of Stellar. And like the internet, anyone can connect to anyone else on the network. So under the hood, it's actually the first of its kind distributed decentralized database for global real-time transactions. You can ask us about that later. And so far in our pilot, we've enabled over 6 million transactions. If we had used wire transfers for those transactions, it would have cost $150 million in fees to end users. Also a lot of money. If we had used M-Pesa, which is the PayPal of Kenya, that would have cost $2 million, which is a great savings, but we are not stopping with that. On Stellar, those same transactions cost end users 20 cents total. So these kinds of savings are made possible because the Stellar network is open. It can be used from end to end, regardless of if you are in New York or Nairobi. And what that means is that people can build businesses where it was impossible before. And the money saved, all that money saved, gets to stay in communities so that grandmothers just like mine can invest more into the well-being of their families. All of this requires better software. And that's brought to you by our full-time team of technologists who joined us from a great group of companies. So there's also a role for you guys to play in this. By contributing to Stellar, you can become an impact billionaire. You can help billions of people save billions of dollars. We're presently working on 2 projects. If you're an individual, you can consider supporting the translation of our technical documentation. We were aiming for 5 languages. Thank you, Google and BlackRock, for covering 3 of those. 2 more to go. That alone reaches millions of developers. If you're an organization, you can consider kickstarting our microfinance project, where for $250,000, we are going to start connecting the 150 million microfinance customers to a free financial network. So I want to summarize by stressing how important I think this is. The internet, it connected the world. It touched every single one of us. So we, in this room here, we have the chance now, and we have the technology to do it again, but for money. So what are we waiting for? Let's make money work for the people. Thank you.
Let's make the money work for the people. Now, earlier, you heard her mention about all these expensive fees. Now, think about this. Cash App embraced Bitcoin many years ago. You're trying to tell me that Cash App is going to embrace those 4 to 7 transactions per second and those expensive fees moving forward for BTC? No way. If anything, moving forward after we get clarity, it's like embracing other technologies. And you want to know something? Maybe Cash App never gets involved. Maybe they never do anything moving forward. But you want to know something? Moneygram definitely has. Again, recognizing, as the saying goes, the on and off ramp services that have embraced the next era of going from Cash App, Venmo, PayPal in the past to the new era. As I take you to this next part, I want to point out another key thing, and that is this particular company. You might have saw it posted on X, and where the case be, I'm still going to bring it to you because it is referred to as shipper. No, not a wood shipper, but shipper. Okay, so what it says here is basically speaking, your free shipper account unlocks international transfer, payment cards, and investing for Africans. As I get more into this, you will see it's not just about Africa, it's also this whole thing of the United States. I just don't think enough people are really truly aware about it. And of course, if you were to go here, they already have 5 million plus users. They already have a virtual Visa shipper card that's issued. And like it says, 6,000 plus US public companies to invest in and 250,000 plus transactions per day. It may not seem like much, but again, you're going to see an update here in a bit. I promised you guys I would give you one. And as we also see here, basically speaking, if you were to go to support.shippercash.com, understand all this support, all these, FAQs and so on, and it takes you over to this thing that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, and that is shipper services 100% of states in the United States. So that's 100. That's basically all 50 states, and holds 40 money transmitter licenses. And like it goes on to mention, shipper services all this. More importantly, like it also mentions that they are covering 100% of the U.S. from Delaware to D.C. on and on, right? But again, understanding that they have this huge expansion of their U.S. licensee program that basically allows money transmitter licenses for 40 individual states, marking a substantial leap towards in our journey to fulfilling our mission. So I mentioned 50, apparently it's 40, but still understanding adoption, okay? And that's where it's at for me. And I think for you guys, that's where it's at for you. Now, where I'm going with this is basically this: the whole concept of cash. Like I said, send and receive cash, move your money across town, across Africa, or across the ocean, fast, easy, borderless way. Every signification of the whole idea of like another version of a cash app. And as you could also see right here, it talks about sending and receiving cash, converting that cash in and out. I mean, the same concept to a sense as Cash App or Venmo. And more importantly, like it shows right here, how you can send this, for example, using a Visa card. And if anything, to the US. Well, what about a little bit more about this? Well, I'm gonna get into that just in a bit, but what I want to point out to you guys is that this partnership, Shipper, basically speaking, I mean, some people will ask, well, is it really truly built on a Stellar blockchain? The answer is yes. Look it up for yourself. This partnership allows Shipper Cash users to seamlessly cash in and out in real time, by the way, with, for example, Moneygram agents. That's where I'm going with this. Powered by the Stellar network, this integration provides a more convenient and, of course, efficient way for users to interact with their, of course, their money. So, what else do I have? Why is it important? Well, this is what's new. And this isn't from last year. This is fairly new, like a few days ago. Because what you see right here, again, not a lot of people are reporting this to you guys. Shipper Cash, Stellar, and MoneyGram announced strategic integration to improve cash in and cash out services. More importantly, when you go further down, you see that they partner with both MoneyGram and, of course, Stellar because, if anything, it is part of that ecosystem. And what's cool is it's first of its kind global money movement service. Not just like, oh, this is just another one. First of its kind. Step towards bridging the gap between people and first class financial services. Interesting. But this is also good because it talks about integration of Shipper Cash, Stellar, and of course, how Stellar always talks about anchors. Again, the whole ability and capability, I should say, to seamlessly cash in and out of their wallets using MoneyGram's physical agents. And more importantly, powered by the Stellar's platform and MoneyGram's vast global retail network. Shipper Cash users can now enjoy more ways to interact, of course, with their money. All right. Well, again, why point all this out? Well, understand this. We're going to talk about the next era of all this and have a retail flip of the switch. Well, what would be the net worth market cap of PayPal so far in 2024? Listen to this. It said October 2024, PayPal's market cap is valued at $80.74 billion, making it a major player, of course, in the global fintech industry. No kidding. A lot of you guys still use it. But the valuation places PayPal among the world's leading companies, of course, by market cap. And that was only posted 10 hours ago. Check this out. People want to know if, we're going to have like not just the next era of Cash App and Venmo, but would be tied to like AI and stuff like that. Well, the answer is also yes on that, because you have to have a proper audit. AnChain, and I covered this in the past, specializes in AI, and they employ cybersecurity best practices to help financial institutions, governments, VASPs protect themselves and their customers from money laundering and other illicit activities. And as you also see here, it's trusted by leaders across the board, governments, enterprises, and financial institutions. More importantly, some big players, even Solana, Providence Blockchain, Algorand, Gala Games, obviously Stellar, and again, 16 plus mission critical artificial intelligence models, and it goes on and on. And more importantly, it's understanding, again, compliance intelligence, but boom, smart contract intelligence solution. You better believe this would also work with Sorbonne moving forward. Now, the other reason I should say that I'm sharing this with you is if you were to go back to Pew Research on that survey, okay, about payment apps such as Venmo and Cash App bringing so-called convenience and security concerns, well, according to Pew Research, about a third of payment app or site users say that they have little or no confidence that personal information is safe from hackers. Among U.S. adults who say they have ever used PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, or Cash App, well, many of them feel as though that payment apps or sites keep people's information safe from hackers or unauthorized users, but again, only like 20% seem that they're very likely or extremely likely feel that way. A lot of people don't feel that way at all. But again, how do we keep it all from the bad actors, so on and so forth? Say what you want, things like AnChain is definitely the solution. Okay. So, what I also want to point out to you guys before we close things out, basically speaking, is I want you guys to understand that with AnChain having its integration with the Stellar blockchain, this integration allows Stellar developers to leverage AnChain's AI-powered Web3 risk management and security solutions. In a nutshell, AnChain AI has tools to help identify potential vulnerabilities, and so on. And it protects both developers and, of course, users moving forward. So that's a game changer. But this other thing I want to pull up on your screen is back to the whole thing about Cash App. Because remember how we talked about trust and talked about fees? Well, that's going to be the game changer moving forward, not just for me because I'm stating it, but because it's simple research. Cash App offers standard transactions, or I should say transfers to your bank account and instant transfers to your linked debit. But standard transfers are free and arrive, of course, in 1 to 3 business days. But instant transfers are subject to a 0.5% to 1.75% fee with a minimum fee of 25 cents. Well, if anything, start adding that up if you were starting to move a lot more money than that. Yeah, they can arrive instantly to your debit card, but the whole point is low fees with Stellar. So I show you another example because I mentioned Venmo earlier. Well, what is the transaction fee for Venmo? Well, depending on the type of transaction, different fees are assigned. And not to also mention, what about if you're trying to transfer a large amount of money over the weekend, right? And if anything, how many days will that take? Now, of course, there's, again, instant fees to get it instantly to your bank. But fees do make a big difference. So depending on the transaction, the different fees are assigned. But for credit card transactions, 3%. For transferring money instantly, 1.75%. Now, while there is no fee for standard transactions with a debit card or a personal account, again, keep in mind for credit cards, that's a pretty big difference. All right, what about Stellar? What are the fees of Stellar? The Stellar Foundation estimates that a transaction takes 5 seconds to finalize on the Stellar blockchain. The average cost per transfer is roughly 0.3405 XLM. Now, I understand this is a different example in regards to transferring it to your bank because, again, that's a whole other thing in itself. But, again, we had an example in the past that to transfer, I think it was 10 million of USDC stablecoin was fractions of like hardly anything. All right. And that was millions of dollars. Again, understand the difference moving forward. So for me personally, the reason why I'm sharing this with you guys is I want you guys to all understand, for the most part, we are entering into a next era of these particular payment apps. say what you want. Stellar has that leverage. But what will be the deciding factor moving forward for Stellar? Well, it's what we're all waiting for, everybody, and that is regulatory clarity. It is being talked about. I'm sure some of you guys are looking into the whole thing of Fit 21 and so on, but there are other particular bills that are out there for the House and Senate to look more into. 2025, in my opinion, is the year to finally get this done. So with that said, glad to bring this to you guys. I know it's another deep dive, but it's obviously what I do. Thank you very much for listening to this. Simply do me a favor and type this into the comments if you listen to the entire deep dive. And that is simply type in 2 letters, MG, as in Moneygram. And I'll know that you listened to the entire outline. Thank you so much. God bless you all. May you have a blessed weekend. We will see you on the next one.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.